In this lesson, we're going to add side vents along the jaw area of the helmet. Let's take a look at the existing features. If we scroll down below the surface knit that knits everything together and the fillet that adds rounds over the tops of the ridges, we come to a sketch that has a series of shapes within the sketch. And then Surface Trim 6 trims out areas for the vents. Let's roll this back and see how that trim works. First, if we look at the sketch, we notice that the sketch is underdefined. Frequently, in freeform type shapes, sketches are left underdefined because you may not have any reliable references that you can use to keep things in line. Most of the time on a shape like this, shapes are added by eye, and trying to drive them parametrically is often an exercise in futility. This, of course, varies per project and per user, but most of the time, I'm content with underdefined sketches in my parts. If the choice is between underdefined and fully defined, I'll go for underdefined most of the time, because a fully defined sketch may not allow you to create the types of changes that you want to create. From here, I used a trim command with the standard option using the sketch with multiple profiles and selected the keep selections because that means only one selection needs to be made, and right click to accept. Since this feature duplicates the trim 6, I'm going to get rid of it. And from here we have 3 planes. These planes are here to help set up the vent features, and let's see how they were created. The planes were created by selecting the points at each end of the straight line and then setting that plane perpendicular to the right-hand plane. This may or may not be the way you would do it, but this is the way I did it. There are many ways that you could create planes like this, and once you see how we're going to use it, you may think of a different way. Let's turn off the sketch, then roll down 3 sketches that are used for the vents. Each of these 3 sketches creates an opening for the vent. And if I hide one of them, I'll use this plane to create a new sketch and sketch in my own vent opening. There are a lot of different ways that you can do this, but I would start this way, where I click the start point of a spline at the corner, add at least one point raised up in the middle, and then click the final point of the spline and hit escape to exit the spline command. There are a couple of ways to assign the tangency. You could select the spline and control select this edge and then make that tangent. Or there is another way to do it where you can click on the spline, control click on this edge, and then control click the face itself. This will allow you to create either an equal curvature or tangent to face relation, and the relation becomes between the spline and the face rather than the spline and the edge as I created previously. In some situations, you may need to do it one way or another. Notice that when the spline is given a relationship to the face, you don't get a handle that appears. To control the shape of the spline, you may need to add some additional control points. So I'll right-click on the spline and say Insert Spline Point, and I'll add 2 points. Now be careful when the cursor has the red circle with a line through it. It means you can't add a point. So if you get your cursor closer to the line, you'll be able to add that. Now position these control points to work along with the tangency constraints, and you'll get what you're looking for. I'm going to X out of here to restore the original. Now I'm going to put in an actual boundary surface using this spline as direction 1, this also as direction 1. Only the second selection, that edge, is going to get a curvature relationship. And in direction 2, I'm going to also select edges. May need to zoom in to avoid clicking on the arrows. These two edges be set to tangency. And that's how I would create these vents. You then need to merge them together with the rest of the geometry using the knit. Each one of these would need to be created as a separate feature. So if I delete this feature and unroll the 3 boundary surfaces, we see the result.